Welcome to my kitchen and to my pre-retirement days. Yep, I'm not ever gonna retire. Today I'm gonna make sourdough French bread. I had some leftover spaghetti sauce in the freezer. I'm gonna make spaghetti and I wanted homemade sourdough French bread. So let's do this. Join me. Should I make bread today? Sourdough French bread. Does that sound good to you? All right. And I told you I was remodeling the kitchen, and of course I have paint in my hair. Haven't been able to get it out. But yeah, we had an old table, kitchen table from like the 70s. It was given to me 33 years ago. And it was ugly, and so my husband is redoing it, and that thing has stood up through tons of baking and kids and all kinds of stuff. But he redid the chairs. Look out. This is the chair he redid. It was an ugly brown. This is the table now. He spray painted all the parts, took it all apart, spray painted each piece, and then redid the top with that countertop kit, which matches my countertops. We had leftovers, so didn't cost a thing. So I'm excited about that. It'll blend in with my kitchen. Okay. What I've got here is I've got my sourdough starter, which I've had in the fridge. I keep it in the fridge. I made that. It can stay in the fridge a long time. I've had it a few months. And I start with that. And I will put a link in the, I will put in the description about making your starter. And then you replace it when you use it. So then I've got my one package of yeast, and I'm going to be using 1 cup of sourdough and 4 cups plus another 1.5 cups of flour and 2 teaspoons of sugar and 2 teaspoons of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of soda. And I'm also going to add some garlic powder, a little bit of Italian seasoning to the dough. Okay, so the first thing we do is I have to stir up, I have to stir this sourdough. It's been in there, so it's strong right now. I found this recipe in a cookbook that I got from the library. It was about cooking in like the 1800s, you know. Oh, it was really interesting. Okay, I've got that stirred up. So now I'm going to save the spoon. I'm going to pour 1 cup of this starter. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to pour that in here. I got a little bit in this flour. I don't want it in there. Take that out. And I want hot water, so I'm going to get myself a bowl here. One and a half cups of hot water. And I pretty much know the temp on our hot water because of the thermostat in our hot water heater. So now I'm going to dissolve the yeast in the hot water. Yeah, dissolve that up. Okay. And now I'm going to add that to the starter that I have in here. Okay, now I'm going to add I'm going to get a bigger stirrer here. I'm going to add my sugar, my salt, and I'm going to give that a little stir. I'm going to use this one. It's quieter. I hope you are all having a good day. I am. I always like my days off. Yep, I always do. But I gotta learn to rest a little bit on my days off. Okay, now I'm gonna add the 4 cups of flour. And I'm gonna stir that around into a batter that I'm going to need. Try to get that all out of there. Give that a good stir. Just going to give it a little mix. Pretty sticky right now. Okay, I'm going to add some, just as much garlic powder as I want. And I'm going to throw in a little bit of Italian seasoning. There. Give it another stir. Okay, that's good for now. I'm going to get this off of my paddle here. Now I'm going to cover this and let it sit covered and let it rise. I'm not gonna turn the oven on yet because I'm actually gonna let it rise in my oven because it's just a pilot light and it's warmer in there than it is in the kitchen. Been trying to keep the heat down a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna cover this. Put some plastic wrap over it first. And then I'm going to lay this towel over it. And then I am going to put that in, I'm going to put this in the oven. See, I wrapped it with cling wrap and then a towel, and I'm going to put it in the oven with oven off. Just, that's only if you have a gas oven can you do that. We're just going to use the pilot light. Okay. Okay, now I've prepared my pan. I've got a pan that I sprayed with olive oil. And while my dough is rising. And you're also going to put in, I just used a small bread pan. But you put water. When you bake it, you put a container of water on the bottom, in the bottom of your bottom rack or whatever below it, to bake with some steam. So we'll come back when that's has rose, and we'll go on to the next step. Okay, I have 1 cup of flour here that I'm getting prepared for when my dough has risen enough. I have 1 cup of flour and the half teaspoon of soda, and I'm going to mix that up in this flour really good. If you don't do this and you just add it, you're going to get brown streaks in your bread. So mix this up good in with this flour. And it might take a little more than a cup. I don't know. I don't want to use too much flour. So I just started with this 1 cup. Because right now the dough is really sticky, and 1 cup is not going to make it too stiff a dough. You don't want too stiff a dough. Okay, make sure that's good. And now I'm going to let that sit, and that's what I'm going to be putting in when I mix, when I start kneading the dough and adding more flour. Okay, now, since I took out 1 cup of sourdough starter, I'm going to put back in, I don't need this bowl. I'm gonna add 1 cup of hot water. And 1 cup of flour. And I'm going to mix that up good. Then I'm going to let that set. I'm going to use a whisk. Make sure that's good and mixed. Now I'm going to let that sit overnight, and I'm going to stir it probably like every 5 hours, except during the night, but yeah, I'm going to keep stirring it every 4 to 5 hours. And I can put it back in the fridge probably like tomorrow afternoon. Because the initial starter is, and I'll read it off my thing right now. It's 2 cups of warm water, 1 package of dry yeast, and 2 cups of flour. And then you blend that in the blender, and then you pour into a glass container, and I bought this specifically for sourdough. And then you cover with wax paper and a towel. I don't have wax paper, but I will use, I'll probably just cover it with just any kind of paper and a towel. Parchment, or probably parchment paper. And then you leave it set at warm temperature, or room temperature. And then you leave that set, the starter, for 48 hours, and then you stir. You can stir 2 or 3 times during that 40 hours. And then after that 48 hours, you can cover with the lid, cover it with the lid and refrigerate it. Okay, I think this is good, so I think I'm going to cover it. I think I'm going to use the saran wrap here. That'll be easier than the parchment paper. I'm going to put that over here, let it set, put a towel over it, and stir it every few. Okay, I got a towel, so I'm going to lay that on here. I covered it with the saran wrap. I'm going to cover the towel. And I think I'm actually going to let it set for 48 hours like the original starter. So, yeah. And I haven't made this in a while, so I can't remember what I did. So, yeah, I'm going to let this sit. Stir it every now and then. Okay. I'll let this knead for 5 minutes. Scrape it down until we get all the flour in there. It's a pretty sticky dough yet, so. Yeah, see, I didn't even use the whole cup. But it's a nice soft dough. It has a little bit of stickiness to it, but I don't know. I think that'll change after it's kneaded. We don't want it too firm. It almost has a feel like Play-Doh, but a little sticky. I'll see what happens. I might add the rest of that. Okay, I'm gonna leave that. I don't want it. A little bit of flour can make it just too stiff. So I'm gonna let this go on knead it for like, I've already been kneading about a minute. It's about 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, this has been kneading 5 minutes. It's a nice soft dough. See, it stretches and comes back. So now I'm going to put it on the pan like this. And it's going to rise, so I don't want it to kind of shape it into a French bread type look. And I put the oven on 400 degrees, letting it warm up and letting that pan of water warm up in there. Now keep an eye on that water too. If it needs to add water, I'm going to add water to it. Okay. This will get big. You know, if you want to make 2, then you'll have to double the recipe. But this is just for our supper, so. Okay, now I'm going to take a sharp knife and cut diagonal slits in it. There, now I'm going to cover that and let that rise until double. I'm just going to I'm going to double the cloth here. And I'm going to set this close to the oven so that the warmth from the oven will help it rise. And we'll be back when it has risen. Okay, this bread has doubled in size. So I'm going to pop this in the oven, 400 degree. And remember, I have the pan of water in there. And I'm going to bake it. I'm going to check it at 40 minutes, 45 to 50 minutes. So we'll see you then. Okay, this came out of the oven, and when you tap it, it sounds hollow. It was in there about 40 minutes. So that is done. And now now I melted some butter and I'm going to put that on it and let that cool. Put it on a rack and let it cool. This looks delicious. Nothing better than homemade bread with spaghetti with butter and garlic powder on the top of it. I'm going to get the edges too. I think I do have somewhere in my pantry, I have a French bread pan, but I just didn't want to use that today. I just wanted one big loaf. There we go. Now we're going to let that cool. Thank you for joining me today for sourdough French bread. It's nice and soft. And of course the crust, you know, is always the best, but put butter on it and some garlic powder. It'll go great with the spaghetti. Yes, and I just thank you for subscribing. I'm gaining a large family, and I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. We're just having fun here, just enjoying food and life, good and bad parts of it. We just have to smile and be happy through it. So, and I wanted to show you my cutting board that I don't know if, I hope that's not backwards. It says Grandma's Kitchen, where great meals, sweet treats, and loving memories are made. That my son sent that to me. Yeah, so all right, well, we'll see you next time for a different video, and remember, stay busy and serve others. Bye for now.